So I'm going to share my screen now. So I made this little PowerPoint. I made this little slide that we're going to use as a guide as we walk through the steps. Okay. So my name is Pius. I'm the organizer of GDG Makurdi in Nigeria. And this is a little bit about me. I'm a mobile developer. I've been working on the Android platform for about 4 years now. And I'm a founder of Build Brothers Nigeria. We're a small team of mobile and web developers based here. And I like watching football and what I call undirected TV series. So now we're going to get into tax. And what we're going to be looking at today is how to use Firebase to set up user authentication and hopefully database for an Android app. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with the Firebase console. So the Firebase console can be accessed using this link here. So we're going to click on the link. So this is the link. We're going to open Firebase console. We'll go back to the slide. And for this workshop, we're going to try to build a note-keeping app, like an app that has authentication. You can register and log in and create new notes. So Firebase is going to help us set up that authentication, and we're also going to use Cloudflare Store for the database. So our notes are going to be stored on Cloudflare Store. That's the database infrastructure for Firebase. So these are Firebase console here. I'm just going to have to switch to another account. Okay, so this is a database I've already created, but we're going to start from the beginning. So create or add project. Then we'll just call our project. You can give it any name you want. So we'll call it, let's say, note keeping app. We can call our project that. And after writing the name of the project, we're going to click on continue. So this option is asking if we want analytics, but for this project, since it's nothing really serious or anything we hope to send to production, I can just disable that and click create project. So this will take a while for the project to get created. So now the features are up. The app we're going to be building, it's going to have the following features. It's going to have a user registration screen, a user login screen, screen to add notes, an option to delete notes, and modifying notes. So our project is ready. So our project is ready, and this is our new project. And Firebase has redirected to the new project. The other options for authentication and database. Well, we're going to get back to that later. So let's go back to our slide. So the next thing we're going to be doing is, we've done this. This is create Firebase project. So the next thing we're going to do is to create a project in Android Studio. So I already have my Android Studio open. I can click on new project. Sorry, I have to. So here we are in Android Studio, and we're creating a new project. So we're going to go with empty activity, click next, So here we'll put the name of our application. Let's call it Note Keeping App. So we're going to leave other things as default. We're using Java, we'll leave the location like that, we'll leave other things as default, and you can click on finish and then wait for Android Studio to set up the new project. Okay, so here we are in Android Studio. Our project is syncing, so this is still going to take a while depending on the internet connection. So wait for that. While we wait, I think. So let's get back to Chrome. Okay, can we see my screen? Okay, so here we're back in Chrome. I'd like to know if you guys are seeing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, man. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, so here we're back in Chrome. So the next step, why Android Studio is setting up our project, we can use that time to also do some other things. So the next step is we need to connect our app to Firebase. So we've created an Android Studio project and created a Firebase project. So here we are in our Firebase project. So on our Firebase project, you can see these icons, one for iOS, Android, and this is for web. So we're going to click on the icon for Android in order to connect our project. So click on that icon, and we're going to be asked to impute. We're going to be asked to impute our package name. So you can get a package name from Android Studio. So go back to Android Studio. So can we see the screen like on Android Studio?
Yeah, we can see the screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank
you.
So
I'm not too used to Zoom. That's why I'm having issues switching from one screen to another, but I think we just see how it gets on. And so on Android Studio, you go to the manifest. You go to the manifest file. It's Android manifest of XML. So your package is here, the selected text. So you can copy that text from there, and you go back to Chrome. So go back to Chrome, and on Chrome we can paste that command plus V. We can paste the package name. This is optional. Then now we need to get the debug certificate SHA-1. So we need to get a SHA-1 key. So here on my slide, this is what we've done, add project. Then it's time to get the debug key. And you can also use this link to get the documentation on how to add your Android project to Firebase. So how to get the SHA-1 key? You need to go to Android Studio, and you can see this image. You can see this image. You go to this location here, and you click on Gradle. It's going to open the pane for Gradle pane, and on Gradle pane, you expand app, you expand tags, you expand Android. Then you double click on sign in report. So that's going to give you, double clicking on sign in report. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So double clicking on sign in report is going to open this console down here, which will contain the SHA-1 key. So you copy it up. I've blanked it out here because it's unique for an app, and I'm not supposed to share the one for my account. So that's why it's blank. So I'm going to go back to Android Studio now and get the key. But I won't be showing that since I've explained it in that image. So I've gotten the key. I'll come back to Chrome and go back to Firebase. And for now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can paste the key. So I paste the key and I click on register. So after pasting the key, I've clicked on register. So this step is done. This is the second step. For the second step, I need to download Google Services JSON file. So I just have to click on the download button here, and the file will be downloaded. So I can go to a file explorer and copy that file out and paste it, just like the instruction, and paste it in Android Studio. So I've copied the file. And now I'm going to Android Studio to paste it. Okay, so here we're in Android Studio. I'm going to change from Android view to project view because this shows you the hierarchy of folders and files much better. We're supposed to paste the file under the app directory. So this is the app directory. I'm going to click Command V to paste. So I just need to change the name back. It has to be Google Services.json, just like this. I have to remove those numbers and the brackets. So I'm going to click OK, and that is that. We've been able to paste that. So now we'll go back to Chrome. So go back to Chrome, and we can click on the next button. So the next thing we're going to do is to add the Firebase SDK to our Android Studio project. So is anyone following me at this point? Am I moving too fast?
No, it's okay. We are following.
We are following.
All right, great. So the next thing we need to do is to add the Firebase SDK to our Android project. So to do that, To do that, you add the following code. So to do that, to add so we need to make modifications to our app level and project level build.gradle files. So those modifications are what we see here, like for the app, for the project level build.gradle file, this is the modification we're going to do. You're going to add this line. Then for the app level build.gradle file, you're going to add this line, this line. I think this line comes, it's already, so you're going to add only this line. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to copy this line, clicked on copy, so I can go back to Android Studio and so here I'm back in Android Studio. Now this file here, this file is selected. This is our project level build.gradle file. And if you expand this, you see there's another build.gradle file here. So these are app level build.gradle file. So the first thing we're going to do is for the project level. So I'm going to fold this back and make some more space. Probably zoom in a little bit. So we're going to paste that code. You can just paste it anywhere, just below this or above it. So that's the file, we'll paste it. We're supposed to click on sync, but we're not going to do that yet. So let's finish and sync at once. So we need to open the app level build.gradle, this one. So we need to open that too. So this is a file. And here too, we need to add another line of code. So I'm just going to go back to Chrome and get that line and add it. So you're gonna add it here just before the dependencies. So like this, we're done adding the SDK. You can now click on sync to let Gradle synchronize. So while that is going on, you can go back to Chrome. Here we're back in Chrome. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. And if at this point you're able to, Android Studio is done syncing and you didn't get any error, then I think we can say, yay, we did it, like we finished one important step, we reached an important milestone. So we could pause here. If you have any questions or any comments, it's welcome.
No, we got it.
I don't find
There's no question?
Hello!
No.
Yeah, hello.
I don't find anything. It doesn't work at all.
I can't hear you. Hello?
There is
Hello.
no task, there is no folder at all.
Hello? Hello, no question?
No.
All right, great. So let's move to the next step. So for the next step, we're going to add authentication to our application now. So we have an application that's already linked up with Firebase. We have a Firebase project created on the console, and we have an Android Studio project already connected to Firebase with the last step we just followed. So it's time to do the authentication part. So we'll go back to our Firebase console. If you click next here, you can click on continue to console. So we are back at the console, and here you can see our application here. This package name you see up here, that's our application. It's a sign to show that our application has been added. So what we need next is to add authentication to our app. So we're going to click on this authentication link here. Click on it. So that will take us to the authentication page. So on the authentication page, we need to go to sign-in methods. So these are the sign-in methods. So Firebase authentication helps you add user authentication to your app. Normally, if you're building an application, if you're not using a platform like Firebase, you have to worry about the back-end code for your user authentication. Probably you have to write something in Node.js, something in PHP, or some other server-side language, and probably set a database for the users. So with Firebase, you can actually set up authentication without worrying too much about what's happening in the background. So here are the different authentication providers Firebase supports. So we have things like Facebook, sign in Twitter, sign in GitHub. But for this example, just to keep it short and not take too long, we're going to be using email and password authentication. So click on this pencil and click on enable. So that enables, we're going to leave this box like that. That enables the email and password authentication. So you can click on save. I can see it's enabled here. So go back to our slide. And the next thing we'll need to do now that we've enabled authentication, the next thing we need to do is to add the dependency for Firebase authentication to our application. So this can be found on this link. You can find the documentation with link to so you can find the documentation with instruction on how to add So this is the official documentation with instruction on how to add Firebase authentication plugin to your application. So you just copy this line of code and you go back to Android Studio. So go back to Android Studio, and this time around in our app build.gradle, this file that we've already opened. So in that file, under the dependency section of that file, you can just create a new line and paste that code there. So this adds, after syncing, it's going to download the library for this, but we're just going to combine something else before we move. We're also going back to Chrome, and we're going to try to get the dependency for our file store. So also, here's a link for that. So also open that link. And this is the link to the official documentation. And from this link too, just make sure you select Android and Java. So from this link, here's the code to add to our build.gradle file. So we'll copy that code, and we also go back to Android Studio. So we're back in Android Studio. We can also go to a new line and paste that. So here we have plugins for both authentication and file store. We can now click on sync so that Gradle will synchronize and make the download for all the necessary files for those plugins to be added. So that takes some time. Okay, it's done. So it's done. So now we have Firebase Auth and Firebase file store on our application. So next thing we're going to do, going back to Chrome, the next thing we're going to do is here. We need to create two activities. So we need to create an activity for login screen and another activity for registration screen. So we have like two text fields on the login screen, one for email, one for password. And on the registration screen, just for something minimalistic, we're going to be having 3 text fields, one for email, one for password, another for repeat password. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to be spending some time in Android Studio. So let's get back to Android Studio. So here we are back in Android Studio. And to create activity, we can go to src main Java, then our package name. Then we can right click and select new, then activity and empty activity. So click on empty activity. So Android Studio is going to set up the new activity wizard for us. It's going to bring it up. So we'll change this to login activity. So we can click on finish. So this has created our login activity. So let's move a step further. Let's move a step further by also creating nearly the same process, new empty activity. I'm also going to create a registration activity. So I'm just going to call it reg activity and click on finish. So we have 2 activities. I can close some of these files so we're not using right now. So I have two new activities, the reg activity and the login activity. So the next thing we're going to do before we move forward, we're going to try to design the interface of the activity. So how Android projects work. This course is not really for someone that's never written an Android Studio project before, that's never worked with Android Studio before, but I'll still try to explain. So just for the sake of someone like that. So how Android activities work. Android activities has a Java file, which is a class, and it has an XML file. So the XML file lets you create the visual interface. So this is activity login. This is the XML file for this particular activity. So we're going to open that file, and this opens the design interface. This opens the design interface. And you can see it's blank because it's an empty activity, it's blank. So what we want to do now is to start adding elements to it. So we need to add, just like from the slide, we need to add edit text to edit text. So clicking on text here, then these are edit text, this AB with underline. This is the text view, it's a different kind of view. So this is a text view, and what we need is a text view for email. So we could just drag this one that has email on it and drag it to the interface. The parent layout here, you can see my pointer, this is a constraint layout. So if you're familiar with constraint layout, to design constraint, you can just drag and drag to set constraint. When you drag to a view or an edge, a constraint is set. So this view has constraints on the left and the right. So we also set a constraint to the top. Then we can add the margin to the top, probably 24 dp, just so it looks better. We won't be spending too much time on making any fancy UI since the focus of our workshop is Firebase. So I'm going to set the width to 0 dp. How constraint layout works, if you have constraint set for 2. Hello?
No
Hello?
problem, I can from later. Tomorrow also they will do. So,
can I go on? Okay, so how constraint layout works, if you set width to 0, it's going to fill the whole screen as long as you have 2 constraints on the opposite end. So that does that for this. So we're going to change the ID from this default ID to email edit text. And we're going to add margins to both left and right, so it looks finer. So now we need another edit text. So drag another one to the layout. We set the constraint to the top and to left and to right. So these are the constraints. We're going to add margin of 16 dp, and just to make the edit text fill the whole width, we're going to set width to 0 dp. So it fills the whole width. So next thing we need is a button. Button the user can click to log in. So drag the button view and set constraints. Okay, before I proceed, I'm going to change the ID for these two. I'm going to change it to password. Edit text. So time to set constraint to the top, left and right, just like we did with the other views. Sorry. Left, right. We'll be setting the width to 0 dB also, so it fills the screen. So we can also change the ID here to login underscore BTN, and we can change the text from just button to login. So like this, we are done with designing the user interface for our login activity. Now we have to do the same for the registration activity. So just the same step. Have email, have password, and another password. So set constraints. And also we need to set hint. So the hint could be enter email address. And then we also set this and change the ID to password. So we also set hint. So set hint to enter password. And the last edit text. So this is for repeat password. It's one long ID. And we can set a margin up. We can also do that here. So for this, we set width 0 and set hint. Okay, so the last element we need to add is a button. So it's our button. I'll set the constraint. And also setting width to 0 dB. So we need to change the ID of our button to, let's say, red button, and we can change the text from button to register. So this is our UI for registration. So we're able to design that. I'm going to pause here for a moment and still ask, is anyone following me? Hello, can anyone hear me?
We're following you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. We are following you.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so we're done designing the interface for registration and login activity. So the next thing is we will need to start adding the logic, the code that does the main job. So to do that, okay, great. So to do that, we're going to go back to Android Studio and we're going to try to add Firebase Auth to our main activity. We're also going to add the logic code to check if a user is logged in, so that when the user opens our app, if the user is logged in, like he used the app before and he logged in, so the app is going to check, is this user logged in? If the person is not logged in, the app is going to redirect the person to the login activity. So that's the code we're going to be writing now. That's the code we're going to be writing now. And so let's switch back to Android Studio. My apologies, I'm using Zoom like a baby. Like, I know there are better ways of doing everything I'm doing here. Okay, so here we're back in Android Studio. So we'll go back to our main activity.java. This is the code that houses all the logic for our activity. The first screen, this main activity is the first screen you see when the app launches. So we need to write add Firebase Auth here. So this is Java. So we're going to be creating a field for that. We're going to use a field variable to store our instance of Firebase Auth. So that's what we're doing right now. So we could start with a private and Firebase Auth. So that's the first option there. I'm just going to select it, Firebase Auth. So I'm going to call it mauth. So next thing on create, we can come down here and we're going to be assigning value to mauth. So mauth is equal to Firebase Auth dot get instance. So this gets an instance of Firebase Auth. So we're going to come down here and override. We're going to be overriding on start. So on start is a lifecycle method in an activity for Android. We won't be going deep into that, but this is on start. We're going to override on start. So under on start, we're going to check if the user is logged in. So this on start method is executed after on create, and so then at that point, mauth already has a value. So we also have access to mauth since the field, we have access to it here and we can check it. So here we're going to check if mauth dot get current user. So we're checking for the current user. Who's the current user? If the current user is equal to null, like it's identical to null, that means we don't have anyone logged in. We're going to move to the login screen. So you can just create a method and call the method go to login. Now this is a little bit of a reverse coding because I'm using the method here before I create it, but I can just click Alt and enter and select this first option, create method. So Android is going to create the method for me. So I just have to wire up the logic. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create an intent. Create a new intent equal to new intent. And you can use this for the context and login activity.class for the destination. So the first parameter is a context and the second one is the destination. Where do you want to redirect to? So that's our intent. Then we can write start activity, select this method and supply our intent. So what this means is if the user is not logged in, this method is going to be executed. And what this method does is it starts login activity. So that's what's going to happen there. Now we have one little problem. This is the screen the user is going to be redirected to. So we need to add some things here. Like this is the login screen. There's no way for the user to get to the registration screen the way the app is wired up right now, which is bad. That means if you don't register, how do you log in? So we're going to make a little adjustment to our user interface. We're going to be adding two texts, edit text. These are just plain text, two edit text. We're going to be adding two. So these are two edit texts. I'm just going to place them here. And for the first one, I'm going to set the margin to make it look finer. And we'll change the text to new user. Then for the second one, just so we have enough real estate for the user to tap on this, this is going to serve like a button. So I'm not using margin, I'm going to be using padding. So we'll be setting padding instead. So this is padding. And over here, we set padding for all sides to 16. So that brings it to stay on the same line with the other text. And we can clear this and look to change the text color so it looks different. It's just a UX thing. I'm going to use the color for accent. So that's accent, so it's now pink. So it looks more like a link. I'll change this text to register. So this is what we have now. Kind of a new user can just tap on this and this is going to start the registration activity. So we are here. We have this working. If we run our app, before we run our app, since we run this signing report, we should remember to switch the configuration back from signing report to app. I'm not going to be running the app. That's going to take some time to build. But if we're running our app, we should just take note of that. So the next thing we need to do now, we have this code working. The next thing we need to do now is to make some adjustment to our login activity. So this is our login activity. I'm going to create a method. I'm still going to use its reverse style. I'm going to have a method called Initialize Ui. So I'm just going to hover over it, press Alt and Enter, and select Create Method. So Anderson is going to create the method for me. So this is where I'm going to be assigning or initializing our views, the views we have on our layout. This is where I'm going to be initializing them. So first, I need to make those views fields. So we basically were interested in about 3 views or 4. We're interested in 4 views. So we have a edit text for email password. We have a button and the recent text view I added for register. So those are the views we're interested in. So we're just going to start coding them. So we'll start with our edit text. So edit text. So you can say email edit text, comma, password, edit text. I think that's all the edit text we have for login, so we can end the line. The next thing is a button. Could call this login btn. Then our text view. And though controversial, we're going to call it login btn. It's controversial because the text view wasn't serving the purpose of a button. But then we're having an issue here. Oh, sorry. This is supposed to be registered BTN. Sorry about that. So it's registered BTN. So in an initialize UI, we're going to initialize those variables. We start with our email. I will say it's equal to find view by ID r.id dot. We edited those IDs initially. So there's an ID in here, the text, if you still remember that. And repeat that for password equal to find view. Sorry. Find view by ID r.id dot password. Yep. Then our button. So I'm gonna have to check this and confirm the ID for this. So I didn't change the ID. Trying to change it to reg. I just leave it etn. Going to text view. That's okay. This might help us in the future. So we can go back here and say reg equal to find view by ID r.id dot reg button text view. So this initializes all our views, and we can also set click listeners to our buttons here. So we need click listener for our login button and for our register button. So we can say login btn dot set on click listener new on click listener. So this in the override on click, this is where you put the code that is going to perform the action that occurs when the user clicks on the login button. So we're just going to say login user, a method that we're yet to create. Going by my coding style, we can just hit Alt, enter, and we have that. So let's step out of that and also create the on-click listener for our register button. And we can have this method, it go to reg, because it just redirects to registration. So we can still do Alt, enter, and select this and this. So now we have those empty methods. We can wire them up. This is easier to wire up. If we want, we can just use a single line to write the code that redirects to that screen. You can just say start activity, and you can say new intent and specify this as a context, this as a context, and the destination for this is going to be reg activity dot class. So that's that. So here we're going to have much work to do here, because this is where Firebase is going to be doing the user login. So we can pause for this and go back to registration. I want us to write the code for the registration before that of. So let's go back to registration and write the code for registration. So for that, I'm going to create fields, and I feel it's necessary I take a break and still get inputs from you guys. It's anyone really following?
So good, following you. Thank you.
Is there any question?
Not from my end. Thank you.
I just saw nothing is clear on the chat. like nothing is clear from Frederick. Oh, great. That's nice. You found it. Great. So I'm going to share my slide eventually so you can get more. If there's anything that isn't clear, and probably I'll push the app to GitHub and all that. So great. Thank you for your input. And now we can go back to coding. So what we're going to be doing now, we're going to leave a half-finished login activity and go back to the registration, because it's naturally you register on a platform before you log in. So let's go back to registration. So we're going to create a Firebase Auth instance, just like we did in our main activity. And also we need to initialize our user interface. So let's just create a Firebase Auth instance first. So just like we did the first time, so private Firebase Auth Auth. Then we can also start creating fields for our views, the layout views we're going to be using. So for this time around, we're going to be using 3 edit text. So I have edit text. So one is going to be for email edit text. Another is going to be for password. And another is going to be for repeat password. I'm just going to call it repassword. So it's weird, but it's okay. So we're done with our edit text. Next, we'll have a button. So we'll call it reg btn. And we'll come back here and we still need the initialize UI and Alt enter to create it. So just it's time to initialize those variables, and it's equal to find you by id r.id.email password equal to so repeat password. Okay. So our button, so those are our views. So we also need to set like an on-click listener, just like we did for the reg button. So set on-click listener, new on-click listener, and we can have a method called register user and see the auth create method and the second option. So now this is where we start coding. This is where we start coding. We've been coding, but this is where we start coding Firebase related stuff. And I'm going to switch back to Chrome and show us what the documentation says. All right. So this is the documentation for Firebase Auth. So this is what we've done. We've created a field. Like for the last activity, we've not really initialized the variable. So that's something to take note of. If not, our app's going to crash before we find out I'll miss that. So we're interested in code for the registration. So that is creating a new account. So this is the code for creating a new account. And just going to have to copy this code and paste. But this is the link and it's in my slide. So I'm just going to copy this code and paste. Then we'll make some edits to it. But this is code to create user, which is equivalent of registration. So this is the code for that. And over here too, we have code for signing. So almost everything you need, it's in the documentation. And so let's go back and complete that. Okay, so here we are. And before I paste that code, I know the code is on my clipboard already. Before I paste that code, we're going to do some form of validation to validate users' input, whether a person typed an email at least, and it's not submitting the form with the fields empty. So we're going to do a little bit of validation. So it's nothing complex, but if you're building a real life application, you can go for something more robust, something more secure. So I'm just going to test the first one. I'm going to test sorry, before that, let's go back. Let's create some variables. So it's going to hold the values. So we'll create a string variable that will hold email and password. So consign values email equal to email edit text. Okay, so we're going to set the value to whatever text the user has typed. So we'll make reference to the edit text dot, there's a method called get text dot toString. So that gets the value and converts it to a string. Repeat that for password equal to password edit text get text dot toString. So the first form of validation we're going to do is to check whether the email field it's empty. So we can do if. So Java has a functionality called text util dot, which has a method is empty email. So in case email is empty, we're just going to create toast method. We're going to throw toast. And the context. Then our message. So we're going to show this message if that field is empty. Then we can do return. So the method stop executing at that point. And we can copy this and just make a few modifications for our next validation. So we're going to check if password. So if text util dot is empty password, then we'll toast a message saying password can not be blank, and toast that message and also put return. So the next thing we're going to try checking for is to verify that the two passwords, whether password and repeat password matches. So it could be if. This is very crude code, not a lot of best practices. So if you're doing some production, you can research for something better. So we're going to say password dot equals, then password dot get text dot toString. So this checks if the password that was entered in the first field and the second password field are the same. So if that's the same, then we're ready to start work. I'm going to have to go back to Chrome again and copy the code for authentication. So this is the code. So there's a lot we're going to refactor. But before we move forward, we should remember that we've not really initialized our Auth. So we can do that just up here before initialize UI. So you can say Auth equal to Firebase auth dot get instance. And that's done. So we won't be using this for now. So you can hit Alt Enter to make all the necessary imports. Most of this red text you see are classes you need to import. So you can do Alt Enter and import them. So this method update UI, we're not going to need it. Our app is going to work in a slight different order. Also, we don't need this. We could show a toast if authentication fails. We can delete this. And we can change this to our activity, which is reg activity. Okay. So with this, we've been able to write code to register a new user. But if the user is registered, we might not get to see any action. So to do that now, on successful, this is successful when under this condition, when the registration is successful, we can now redirect the user to the main activity. So let's try to do that and probably try to run our app. We'll do that and try to run our app and see what we built so far. Let's see if it breaks or it's gonna work. And we don't really need this line also, but let's move on. So we can say go to home and Alt Enter, create the method, go to home. So if we want, we can use one line of this is equal to new intent, and we can use this for the context, and main activity dot class, dot class for destination, and start activity and supply intent. So that should take us to the home page after successful login. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try something that, and see if we can run our app. I'm going to try to see if we can run our app. While I'm doing that, feel free to ask any questions you might have. Okay, so here we are back in Android Studio, and I'm going to try to hit this green play button. So Android Studio builds our project. I've already connected my phone, and this is going to take a while. It's going to take a while it builds. Okay, I think while that is going on, we can also try to work on our login, or I can use that time to explain what's going on here in this code. So this is our Firebase Auth instance, and it has a method create user with email and password, and it expects password and email as arguments. And that's basically, I think it's straightforward. Still waiting for this to build. Okay, so while that builds, we can go back to our main activity. So at the moment, our main activity only contains a text that shows hello world. Just contains a text that shows hello world, which isn't what we really want. So we can delete this text. All right, so our app is being installed.
Build is complete.
You said?
The build is complete successfully.
Yeah, it's complete. So it's installing. The phone is quite slow, I think. It's trying to install the APK. So it's installed and it's launching. So our app, it's now visible. I'm just going to share that screen. I'm going to switch from our current screen to the screen that shows our app. So this is our app. Can we see that? Can we see the app?
Yeah.
Okay, so the app starting with this screen shows that our code works, because the app was supposed to start with the main activity, which is that screen that says hello world. But because the app checked that condition, whether user is null, as the user is null, it's redirected to login activity, which this is a login activity. If we type anything here now and we click on login, nothing is going to happen because we don't have codes wired for that yet. But we have code for this register. So clicking on it takes us to the register screen. So can we see that we're now in the registration screen? So over here, we can enter our email. So I'm just gonna enter my email. This call is being recorded, but it's no problem. So password, okay, this is weird. I'm just gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and click on the register button. On a production style app, we're going to have like a progress bar, but can we see what happened there? So that was a login success. So we'll move to the main activity. Do we get it?
Yep.
Okay. So this means our app works as it's supposed to work. And let me try killing the app. So I've killed the app and I'm going to try reinstalling it from Android Studio, and let's see if it goes back to the login screen to see if we're able to retain our user authentication status. So I'm going to try running the app again. This time it shouldn't take too much time to build, probably. But if that's going to take time, there's still an alternative. And this is our app, and I launched the app myself. Can you see? We don't go back to the login screen, so it means able to retain the user's state. If one can display the username here instead of hello world. So, and this is still installing, but no problem. So I think we've been able to walk through the process of registration. So it's time to start coding our login. So this is the method that's going to handle login. So just like the last time, we'll go to Chrome and copy the code. Can we see Chrome here? So here we're back in Android Studio. Can we see my screen like on Android Studio?
Yeah.
Great. So we've copied the code. We can paste that code now. But before we move forward, let's create a field for Firebase Auth. So private and Firebase Auth, Auth. And we also come back here and we initialize it, saying auth equal Firebase auth dot get instance, and we can go back to fixing most of this red text. So before that, we need to create a variables for email and password. So it's a string email, comma, password. And email is equal to, fine, okay, sorry about that. Email is equal to email edit text dot get text dot toString, and password is equal to, I guess I made an omission somewhere.
Like sign-on.
I think this is password. I'm trying to make reference to, oh, sorry.
Like password like equal to.
Yeah, password equal, sorry, password equal this
Yeah.
dot get text dot toString. So I wrote the right thing. I don't know why it autocomplete wasn't picking it. So I'm just going to give one extra line here for clarity. So it's time to just do Alt, Enter, and import some of the stuff. So we're going to get rid of this login. We don't need it. We don't necessarily need this guy, but we can leave him there for now. Definitely not this guy. We don't need this guy. So login, unnecessary for now. You could keep the toast. So we have a way of telling the user the authentication field. So we change that to login, and this we don't need. So this is all the modification we need to do to this. So in the it's successful, we need to go to home. So if I had created go to home on the other class as a static method, I think I could use it here. But not to complicate everything, I keep this simple. Since it's a tutorial app, I'm just going to have to do something like write the method all over again. But this time I'm going to use a one-liner. So I'm just going to say start activity, new intent, and context will be this, and our destination is still main activity dot class. So with this, our user has a way of registering and a way of logging in. So we're done with nearly everything authentication. If we want, we can rerun our app. So this is everything on authentication. At this point, we could still break if there's any question. So we'll move to, if there's none, we can move to working with Cloud Firestore. Is there any question? So here we are. Back in our app, but the problem is we don't have a way of logging out. Like there's no way to log out to test the login since you're already logged in. But let's go back. So we'll also need to add that, an option to log out. We're going to be doing something simple, and we're going to create a menu. We're going to create a menu. We're going to create a menu to let our users add notes, and also a menu to let the user log out. So that's what we're going to be doing now. And that's going to be in the main activity. So for this, we need to go to res. You need to go to the res directory, right click, and select new resource directory. So I want to create a resource directory for menu, and click OK. So on our menu, we can come here and create new menu resource file, and we're going to be calling this menu main menu. So this is our menu, an item. So the ID for this item could be add new, and the title the new node. So we can add another item to the menu, and the ID can be logged out, and the title log out. So now we have a menu, the XML for our menu. We need to connect it to our activity by coming down here and on create options menu. So we'll override this method or on create options menu. And I think I can't try this off heart, so I'm gonna have to Google it. Okay, so this is basically what we need. So this inflates our menu. So we need to override another method. So we'll write in an overriding method for items selected, and what we're going to do here is check if item.id equal r.id.add. So we're going to do something here, and also check if item.getID equal r.id.logout. So our code for logout is going to be here. So we need to create an activity. We need to create another activity. This is going to be the activity where we add notes. The activity that is going to let us add notes. So create, it's just like we've done before. Activity, empty activity. Say add note activity. Click on finish. So here's our add note activity. So on the add note activity, we're going to be adding an edit text. So plain text, we're going to be adding an edit text. We'll add a button. Change the ID to add note, and text can change to add. Also delete this value here and set hint as the enter node, what's on your mind. Okay, so we have that activity, and back in our main activity, selecting this menu item is going to send us to that screen. So we can just use a one-liner to say start activity and new intent is, comma, then our destination add node activity got class. So that takes us to the add screen. So it's time to write some of the logic for that. And as usual, we initialize our UI. Select on. So what fields we're going to be having for the UI, we're going to have our edit text. And our button. So we initialize them. This is repeating something we've done before.
Piyush, if you're saying something, we cannot hear you. If you unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm not talking. I'm not talking. Just on my background, it's a bit noisy. That's why I had to.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but I think it's a bit better now. So
yeah, absolutely. Please.
yeah, and this is something we've done. I think it's like the third time we're writing something like this. Like this is just initialize UI. This is probably the third time we're writing this kind of method. So I'm just walking through the code. So new on click listener. And this is what happens when the button is clicked, the button to add the note. So at this point, it's time we go to Cloud Firestore. So we've written most of our code here for the activity. We have our activity to add nodes. So it's time to go to Cloud Firestore and finish up. So here I already have a documentation for Auth opened here, and that of Cloud Firestore opened also. We've gotten this step. So this is how to use Cloud Firestore. This is getting an instance of Cloud Firestore, like we got an instance of Firebase Auth. I hope we can see my screen, like in Chrome. I'm in Chrome now. Can we see my screen?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So this is the documentation for Cloud Firestore. This is doing something quite basic. This is doing something quite basic, and
It's a quick start. It's okay. Very good. Thank you.
all right. Okay, so this is the documentation for Cloud Firestore. But before we move forward, we need to go back to our Firebase console. This is our console right now. We're still in the Auth tab. And here's one interesting thing with Firebase Auth. I registered my email, so you can see under the users tab, you can see my email there. I think the user UID is sensitive something, but no problem. So now we can go back to database. So click on the database tab, and now we're in the database. So Firebase has two types of database. One is Cloud Firestore, another is real-time database. But what we'll be doing for this project, we're going to be using Cloud Firestore. So we'll click on Create Database. So there are two options here. If you can see the screen, you're asked to start in production mode, or if you want to start in test mode, we're going to select test mode, so we don't have any user access verification or anything like that. So we're going to start in text mode, so we can click next, and you're going to be asked to select your locations and told that you can change your location afterwards. So for me, I'm in Africa. There's no location here that has any special advantages for me. So I'm just going to leave it as this for US Central. For you guys, probably choose something in Europe. So you can click on done. It's going to take a while for Firebase to provision the Firestore database. Okay, so our database is ready. So this is Cloud Firestore, and you can start a collection. So collection needs an ID, like something like users. So our collection, it's going to be users. You have a collection as users, and our app is going to be adding the data. We can have a collection as users. Let's go back to All right, so we'll go back to Android Studio and we'll need to create a model like standard practice. If you're going to be working with data, you create a model like a Kojo, plain old Java object. So right inside this package, I'm going to highlight, right click and select create Java class. So we're going to call this class note. We're going to call it note, and this is the class. So in the class, we're going to specify the fields that our notes it's going to have. So our notes is going to have ID. It's going to have ID, and the ID should be string. So we can say string public string ID public string. Let's call this owner ID, and let's call this note body. If you're building something bigger, you could have more fields or other information. So we need to create a constructor, and to do this, we're creating a constructor. So a shortcut in Android Studio, if you're on Mac OS, you can press Command plus N to bring this generate screen. I think in Windows it's Control Alt Insert. So you select constructor, and Android is going to ask you what fields you want to inject into your constructor. So I'm selecting all the fields. So this generates the constructor for us. And we can also create an extra constructor if we want. It could be empty. So next thing, still Command plus N. We need to set up getters and setters. So select all our fields, one setters and getters for them. So now we have a note object ready. So now we have our note object. Another thing we're going to be needing is an adapter. We're going to need an adapter and a recycler view because this is going to give us a screen. So this is our main activity. Right now it does nothing, it's just a blank screen. So with the adapter, we could show a list of the notes. When the user adds some notes, we can see the list of the notes here. We can scroll through the list, select a note to edit and make other modification. So for that, we're going to add an adapter. And first we need to add a recycler view. You need to click on this arrow first, so Android Studio could get the dependency for recycler view. So I'm going to click that and wait for Android Studio to do that. So for while we wait, I'm going to show us the recycler view adapter. I've written before. I've written before, and I shared a Medium post about it, just sharing how I usually write my adapters. So this is a post, and so this is what the recycler view adapter does. Like, it helps us get a screen like this interface you see here, and this is the adapter. This is the adapter I did before. So I'm just going to click on this link. So we'll go back to GitHub and view the gist. Okay, but this is the adapter. So we're going to create an adapter for our application. This is an adapter for another application, but I'm going to be using this as the guide for doing that. So we're going to be creating an adapter. So what we do is, so sorry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new class, a new Java class. So this time around, instead of the user adapter like we have it here, it's going to be note adapter. So an adapter, it's a part of the recycler view. It helps structure and does the logic that drives the recycler view. So recycler view is a kind of a list view, an improved version of a list view. So we're going to write the adapter. So we now have a recycler view in our project, so we can drag it into the layout. So we have it there. We can set constraints by dragging this to the edge, this to the edge. So I'll do that. Edge and down. So those are the constraints. So it's time to create the adapter. So it's a new Java class, and we're going to call it note adapter. So here's a class. So adapter extends. So adapter is going to extend recycler view dot adapter, and these expects our view holder. This expects our view holder, and here this is our view holder. So our view holder here, we've not created our view holder yet. It's going to be an internal class in this file, so we can still make reference to it and create it later. So our view holder, we can say note adapter dot note view holder. So we can come back here. If you click on this red text and press Alt plus Enter, you can select this to reduce the error. So it needs a constructor. Android has created a constructor for us. Let's undo that. Let's create a view holder, public class, note view holder, extends recycler view dot view holder. So we can do Alt plus Enter. So our view holder now has a constructor, and let's try this here. Still gonna undo this. Now we need some fields. We're gonna have a field for our list, the list of nodes. So list of type node, the Pojo class we created. We can call it list or node list. Then we can create a constructor, a public constructor by ourselves. That takes all right. So this is anyone still with me?
Yeah, you need to put semicolon.
Yeah, I know I need to put semicolon and what else? Okay, so here's what's up. I have to go. I have to go. So I've spoken.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I've spoken with one of your organizers. So for those of you that are still interested in following, so we can finish building our app, we could make another arrangement. So this summer is just going to be an hour. So he's suggesting tomorrow, same time tomorrow. That's 6 p.m. tomorrow. So
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Pius. So